Perfect. Yeah, hello, Ule. Welcome to our company, first of all. Thank you that you're here.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
The first question I would have is, how was your travel to this company? Was it rather smooth? Was it a long distance, or was everything fine?
No, it was all right. I got the link to the Zoom room, and it all worked out perfectly.
Perfect, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
So first of all, I would like to present you the goal of this job interview. It is basically to find out as much as possible about you, namely your education, the schools you attended, the universities or the university you attended, also the past jobs you experienced with the test you had to do, and everything is yeah, directed at you meeting the requirements of the company. If you meet the requirements of the company or not, that's what we have to find out in the interview. We have about 15 to 20 minutes of time for the interview, exactly. So everything above that, I will, I think I will stop the interview right there if we are above 15 to 20 minutes. That's okay with you?
Yep.
Perfect.
That's all right.
So I would like to present you with our organization and our function. We are the Clinic for Substance Abuse. We are located in Amsterdam, and our function or our treatment is aimed at assessing individuals by helping them develop the skills necessary to improve their quality of life. So we have people or patients coming in with ADHD, compulsive disorder, suicidal thoughts, and all those people abuse substances. So we are here to help them and improve and upgrade the quality of life. Yeah, the first question I would like to ask you is why was this position attractive to you, and what was the reasoning behind your application?
Well, I was initially intrigued by the outpatient treatment that you do and the approach that you have with the multidisciplinary methods. Yeah. I think the holistic perspective of that kind of treatment in like cooperation between different fields is very, very important. And I think that would I could learn tons and tons of how you work and how you assess and treat and what kind of skills that you teach in what kind of situations. And I find that very, very interesting.
Okay.
And I have some experience with epilepsy already. And
you have experience with epilepsy?
Yes, I worked in a hospital for epilepsy, and where I saw some live cases, and that they worked multidisciplinary as well there between the doctors and the psychologists and different fields. So that was it was very interesting. I found that highly attractive.
Okay, that's good to hear. So I would like to introduce you to the next point, namely your past education. From your CV, I read that you attended the Nesbø High School in Norway. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
What did you major in during your A-levels is what I would like to find out. Which subjects were your focus on?
Certainly. I did my A-levels were in language, and I had Norwegian like language and poetry, so like linguistics and stuff like that. And the third one, I think that was art or something of that sort. I did psychology as well. I had practical, like math has never been my strong suit, but I focused more on the linguistics, communication, and arts and biology.
Okay, good to know. So you also attended the settlement military camp. You did a compulsory military service. I found that quite interesting because I don't know a lot of people who went to the military. And if you know, you never see them again, or you don't see them in a long time because they are there for a long time. Why did you choose to go there?
That's an interesting question. The Norwegian system is includes mandatory service. Yeah, but they have quite strict requirements for actually serving. So each year they take in about 9,000 people who are like applicable. And so they test for like physical conditioning, physical strength, mental and logical thinking, problem solving, all these different like aspects that are useful in wartime, I guess, or like military service positions. Yeah. And like I chose to specifically follow the like the medical path. So I serviced as a medical soldier and on a like BV 206, where we did like we were the transport between the field. So the on-site soldiers would deliver their wounded soldiers to us. Then we would transport that in under suboptimal conditions, you could say, to the road where an actual ambulance would come pick them up. So I've had a lot of practice and training in medical assistance, like documentation, assessment, treatment, administration of like fluids or any kind of like pain relief under like very, very stressful situations where there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of like communication between different wagons, between different medical personnel, and then again, communication with referral of the patient to another medical institution when we're done with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see you're very passionate about this field. Is that correct?
Yeah, certainly, certainly. As I wrote in the motivational letter, I have a wide range of experiences, both like personally and in terms of people I know and people I know of who have experienced psychopathology or like mental health difficulties,
Yeah.
like physical difficulties or like disabilities, mental health, suicide, like substance abuse as well. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different aspects of mental health that I'm very, very interested in.
So if I understood correctly, was it a duty to go to the military service, or could you choose freely?
Well, it's obligatory to be screened, and then they choose with in terms of their particular requirements who to choose. And
Okay, okay.
yeah, from like to put it into perspective, of 60,000 people that are screened, only 9 or 10,000 a year
Okay,
do service.
so 60,000, 9,000 people can actually only come to the military
Yeah,
service. More are
yeah,
not allowed, right?
yeah. So at this point, more people are wanting to come in than who do not, and it's very easy to not have to do it.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So let's move on. You studied, or you've started to study at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
What were your achievements there so far on, and which subjects, majors did you choose, if you could choose, or maybe it was also a planned course?
Yeah, certainly. I went into the minor. It's only a bachelor, so my minor was actually into the clinical field, into like psychopathology and prevention, as
Okay.
well as like assessment and coaching, which is like neuropsychological evaluation, screening instruments, yeah, knowledge of like different instruments and questionnaires that could be used for different types of evaluation of what like the presenting problems that the client has, and also like what treatments are actually an option for those different conditions and the many different conditions or variables that play in terms of predisposition, family history, social status, diversity or minority status, or any number of different factors.
Okay, I got you. So let's move on. From your CV, I read that you were a volunteer at Red Cross. You were a local contact person for youth immigrants. I would really like to find out, because I really find it very interesting, what your tasks there were.
Yeah, it was my position was primarily as a contact person for one specific person.
Yeah.
He was a youth like it was about youth immigrants who immigrated alone.
Okay.
And I was in the position of just hanging out, being like a social contact, as well as like conversating and teaching them Norwegian. So being kind of like an anchor for them to explore their environment there. Yeah.
Okay. So you were also a delegate in public debates, and you participated in an international conference in Stockholm at the Model European Parliament. I would really like to find out what your tasks were there.
Yeah, my position or my part right there was, as it states, a delegate. I didn't have any particular organizational responsibilities or stuff like that. I was mostly participating in the debates themselves, and then I would do like contact searching and making a network between the other participants of the arrangement, the conference. And we would discuss like contemporary difficulties with like different wars that were going on or conflicts between nations, that is based on actual conflicts that are going around the world. But it was a like simplified, perhaps not an actual live conference for discussing what could be done in terms of like the UN or the EU. It
Okay,
was
so
like,
it was kind of political.
yeah, it was certainly political.
Okay.
It was, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So would you, because since you participated in public debates, would you say that you are a good debater or not?
I would say that I'm perhaps above average. I choose my words carefully, and
That's good.
it's difficult to say between what kind of audience am I speaking to, what kind of information am I communicating. In
Yeah.
terms of this position, there's like clinical information about how to best handle one's like substance abuse or different psychopathologies. So that is very, very different from the kind of political statements that you would make in a very structured format with other debaters. Yeah.
So you also did a medical first aid course at your settlement military camp. You had 4 weeks of training. What were your responsibilities and tasks there?
That was in terms of that course. That was the critical like first responder first aid that I had to learn before I could step into the position of a medic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to do that in advance in order to be invited to the military camp.
Not before I was invited there, but to fill that position. So we had like the recruitment period, and then we had our position acquisition, or like repositioning into different parts of the battalion. And then I did this course where we learned anything from stopping like massive bleedings to hemothorax or other kinds of war type damages where that could be done, like splinters. How would you handle that? And I also learned how to do not PCR, but like I learned to use the defibrillator, and yeah, and also like the mouth. I don't remember the name of that actually. Like the chest pumping and the giving air, kind of life saving.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So to follow up, you also did a PT course at the settlement camp. What were your tests there?
There I learned primarily about physiology and different types of like trainings or exercises, sets and reps, how you would use what kind of exercises for what kind of purpose,
Okay.
and how you would do that. Also some massage, some physiology in terms of musculature, and like what kind of musculature works best together, and how to facilitate better like physical health. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah.
So how long did you do the PT course for?
That was for, I think, 4 weeks.
Okay.
No, it was yeah, 20 hours. I don't remember the weeks. It was
Yeah, no
it was a
worries.
set course time. Yeah.
All right. So lastly, about your past yeah, experiences, you also did a crisis responses assistance at the Oslo University. What exactly does that mean, and what did you do there?
Yeah, I was in a assistant nursing position where I did primarily nighttime shifts where I slept at the hospital, and then I was available to assist the nurses. Um, it was a very calm job, and I did a lot of menial tasks like cleaning surfaces and
Okay, can you
keeping
practice, yeah?
yeah, and keeping patients company during that time, communicating and keeping like a good vibe.
Okay, got you. Yeah, following up, what would you yourself say, which requirements do you fulfill for this particular job?
That's a good question. I think I'm quite a good communicator in terms of equitable communication,
Okay.
in terms of meeting new people and not in a non-judgmental manner, as well as handling their potential like changing mental conditions or physical conditions. As as I had, for example, one case at the hospital where there's like a very, very sudden shift in condition for a person going into epilepsy. And then I had to like balance them going into an epileptic shock and gathering other people, making sure the other patients aren't getting too anxious and guiding them out of the room, stuff like that.
Okay, I got you. Perfect. So a question that would interest me a lot, I read it from your motivational letter. You said that you lost a family member due to suicide. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's very sad to hear. I'm really sorry for you. But I would really like to find out how did you cope with that situation because that must be very stressful.
Certainly. At the time, I was only 6, so
Oh,
yeah, right now it doesn't affect me that much, but it did for a very, very long time.
okay.
Certainly.
Okay.
Um,
You don't have to expand on it if that's too private. I can, of course, understand that.
yeah, no, it's at this point, I've come to terms with what happened and how they were feeling, and they did what they did because they had like a lot of comorbidities at the same time and a lot of familiar um, predispositions for suicidality, which contributed to this certain outcome then. Um, but as I said, it affected me for a long time, but I've come to terms with it now. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's good. Good to hear. So what would you say, what are your weak and strong points for this particular job? Since with this job there comes a huge responsibility. We have to yeah, take care and advise people with substance abuse disorder, and you cannot give this responsibility to anyone. So what would you say, what are your weak and strong points for this particular job?
Hmm. Um, for this position, I think I would do really well in like communicating with the other clinicians, like making or facilitating good communication in terms of looking at different perspectives, different factors that could play into their condition or the patient's condition, and then helping with a holistic approach to what could be done, what kind of teaching could be most beneficial to them, and how to go about it. As well, I've been trained in a lot of different crisis responses. So if there's anything that would happen, like physically, if there's a changing condition and they go into a shock or anything, I'm already trained to respond quickly to that in crisis situations. So I think I would be a good resource for that.
Yeah, and I think your PT course at the, no, not your PT course, I'm sorry. Um, your crisis responses assistance job at the Oslo University could really be helpful for that position as well.
Certainly, I had a lot of good experiences there.
Yeah, perfect. Following up, was there any particular situation, stressful situation you have encountered in your past working experiences, maybe in your medical first aid course, your PT course, your crisis responses course, or anything else, yeah, that you encountered that was stressful?
Yeah, as I mentioned with the hospital work that I did, there
Yeah.
was one particular situation that really stands out to me where I was in the living room together with 4 or 5 other patients. I was tasked with just like generally keeping an eye out and just staying with them, keeping them company. And then this one patient was telling their story of having epilepsy. He was a teacher with children. And then right as he told his story, he was speaking specifically about going into an epileptic shock. And as he did that, he went into an epileptic shock. So his like eyes glazed over, he was completely out, he stopped talking,
Yeah.
and it was like he lost himself completely. And he slowly started like slipping out of the sofa. And I had to really, really rapidly respond to like, okay, if he actually falls right now, he could hit his head into like the concrete floor. That would be really bad. So I like got him down to the floor, put a pillow under his head, got him into like a good resting position where he
Okay,
could.
so that was your action. Okay.
Yeah. And then I helped with like getting the rest of the nurses there into the situation, making them aware, getting the other patients out of the room so that they wouldn't necessarily like be exposed to that further anxiety. Yeah.
So what was the result of this? How did the patient survive this, or was there any difficulties, or what was the result of
Yeah.
this?
The routine is quite general. So for the first like when they're into a shock, they can't breathe because all of their musculature is spasmic. So he became completely like blue or purple in his face, and so we had to wait out and see if he actually started like calming down again, if he went out of the shock again. Hope like he did. Luckily, he got out of the shock and he calmed down. He could start to breathe again. And then we got him a wheelchair, wheeled him to his room, and so just to make sure he's comfortable and was able to sleep. So that went really, really well, luckily.
Perfect. That's good to hear. Very, very nice to hear that you could help the person. That's very good to hear. So we are at the finish of our interview. Last but not least, I would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions. Is there anything that is not clear or that you want to ask me about?
No, I think the position is highly interesting, and I don't really have any particular questions. I think the description is all clear. The multidisciplinary approach is very, very interesting, and
That's good to hear.
yeah.
You will receive additional information about how this whole interview went and if you get the position or not in 2 weeks from our secretary. We will contact you by email or by phone. Depends if you are available on either phone or email. Depends on that. And of course, your travel expense will be paid. You just have to go to the secretary and she will give you the money back for the travel to our company. I think that's
All right.
what we can do.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here, and maybe see you next time in our.
Hopefully.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello.
Hello. You have to press the. Oh, you want the feedback. Okay.
Yeah, I am the
Sorry.
feedback.
How do you stop the recording?
Up in the left-hand corner, it says recording, right? There's a pause symbol and a stop symbol. If you press the stop one, it stops. But if you want to record the evaluation, you could just leave it.
Okay, then I will record the evaluation.
Okay. So how do you think it went?
I think it went quite okay. It could be better. Sometimes I think I nodded too much. I was like this all the time. I think that could make him nervous, or yeah, anything like that. And then I also said stuff like okay, or I was trying to paraphrase while he was talking, so that kind of was interfering with what he was saying sometimes. But other than that, I had my interview plan, and I followed every single step and every single question I had planned for this interview I asked. So I'm quite happy with that.
Okay, good. Then I'm just gonna start talking about what I've observed.
Yeah.
So your learning goals were that you wanted to do some more paraphrasing and you wanted to be better at meta communication. So I think with meta communication, I think that went really, really well. You had a very clear structure. You welcomed the interviewee very nicely, and you had a good introduction. The goal of the interview was very clear, and I also liked how you closed the interview. Yeah, so I think that was really good. And then with paraphrasing, I've observed some paraphrasing and also some summaries of what the interviewee said. So I think that was also not too little, not too much. It was well balanced. With other things, I saw that you made use of a lot of verbal and non-verbal listening skills, like you said yes, okay, thank you, I understand. I think that was really well placed. I think the nodding was all right. I don't think it was too much.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes, or not sometimes, but at the beginning I saw you getting distracted a bit. But I think that happens to everyone, so I don't think that's a bad thing. But maybe next time try to focus more on looking at the interviewee, because maybe it would give him a feeling of that you're not listening at that moment.
Yeah.
But that was only like once or twice at the beginning, so
Okay.
that's not really a big deal. I really like that you were reflecting the interview's emotions along with paraphrasing, that you said at some point you said, oh, so I see you're really passionate about that. And the interview, he responded really well to that as well. So it was very well placed. It was also good that you constantly asked for clarification. I mean, the interview did take a bit longer, around 24 minutes.
Okay.
So although it was really well that you talked a lot with the interview and you wanted to get as much information as possible, especially about his background information, where he worked and everything. I think that's not a bad thing, but maybe to save some time, you could cut that a bit short and maybe turn some of those questions about his background information into star questions. So you could combine that and ask more about in a certain situation, like if you ask about, so have you had stressful experiences like this or that? So you had this experience, how did you handle that? I know we as psychology students are pretty well trained into already answering it with star questions, but I would have liked to see more of those star questions from you. But that doesn't mean that you didn't do it, because at the end you had 2 star questions that I thought were very well placed as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Okay. Thank you for your feedback.
No problem. I think you did a really good job.
Thank you. That's nice. Where's Oleg?
Maybe he went to the boys' room. I mean, it's been 40 minutes
You can
of
stop the
interview.
recording if you'd like to.
Oh yeah.